GameStop employees of Reddit, what are some of your horror stories? Former employee, two wonderful stories. Older lady brings in a bag. She looks like an addict and she wants to sell her Wii. I put my hand in the bag and it's soaking wet. Cat piss. She was furious I wouldn't take it. From that day forward, made every customer take all trades out of the bags themselves. My first store was long and I had a kid and mom in back. Mom wasn't paying attention at all. 8-year-old walking around. Gets really quiet. Then mom rushes the kid out of the store. Go back there and he took a shit on the floor. Watch the tape. Mom finds him squatting, lets him finish, then takes him out. This was 2007 or so. GameStop had a used game return policy. 7 days, no questions asked. Full refund. People would abuse this constantly, like a rental service. We knew it, and we were able to flag people who did it too often and decline them returns. Manager policy, not company policy. Then there was this one bitch, old lady, gaggle of grandkids. Seemed so sweet and was very nice to us while in the store, asking for help, recommendations, etc. Bought them a PS2 and a freaking giant stack of games. Like had to be 20-25 at least. Her total came out to over 400. I rang her out, handed the multiple bags of stuff and said to the kids something along the lines of, wow, you guys are lucky to have such a great grandma. This many games will last you months. The grandma chuckled and said, oh, they're only in town for the week. You guys have that 7-day return policy. I'll see you in 6 days. The guy who comes in with obviously stolen stuff but can't be called out on it, so he just keeps it up. Never was an employee, but on the night Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, I was waiting in line and this kid rolled up in the parking lot and started bragging about how he got the first copy and held his copy out the window. After about 10-15 seconds of bragging and holding it outside the window, another kid ran up from behind the car, yanked the copy from his hand and ran into the woods behind the GameStop. They never found the kid who took it, and the kid in the car started crying immediately. Former GameStop employee here, worked in a store on the edge of a super sketchy part of Akron, Ohio. Back in the PS2 era, a guy brought in a box of trades. There were 3 games: Leisure Suit Larry, Playboy the Mansion, The Guy Game. The rest of the box was nothing but porn on VHS. He was politely asked to leave. He asked us why. My coworker's response had me kneeling over. Because there's jizz all over your shit. He left. Worked at GameStop a long time ago, but I'll never forget this one. One night, a guy brought in a really dusty and dirty GameCube, wanting cash of course. I asked him if it worked and he said he didn't know because he hadn't played it in a long time. I told him that you have to check every console, and when I turned it out and opened the lid, about 100 roaches came running out all over the counter. I got scolded by management for helping a woman for 30 minutes. She bought 12 games and was looking for good recommendations for her son, who was on the spectrum. I found every game on her list and a few more to surprise him. Those surprise games were Okami and Katamari Damacy. She was overjoyed that her son was going to have lots of good games to play. Why were they mad over such a large sale? Oh, because they weren't fucking used. Fuck that store. That woman wanted to make sure her son was happy and I was tasked to do so. I know I did a good job and you guys can close shop. One time a woman screamed at me because her kid was tearing open a toy before paying for it, and I kindly told him to wait a little bit. She seemed on the fence on whether she wanted to buy the toy or not for her kid, so I wasn't glad that her kid was already ripping it open. She then proceeded to scream at me for being really awful with kids, a horrible person, bad at my job, etc. Also, she wanted to complain to the manager if I ever talked to her kid like that again. She then angrily paid and walked off the store. Also people tinkering slash modding their console and then trying to return it because it didn't work anymore and angrily insisting on having it bought that way in GameStop. Had a couple come in to return a Sesame Street video game and a controller. They had a receipt for over a year ago. The game was scratched to hell and the controller was full of dried soda. They said it didn't work anymore, shocker, and were furious when I wouldn't give them their money back. Like standing there screaming at me. I was the manager, so I had no one else there to back me up. It was crazy. Their kid was bawling, the lady was swearing like a syphilitic sailor, and the husband couldn't finish a sentence. Pretty sure they were both super high too, so that was fun. When the PAs2 came out, I was an assistant manager and my manager would sell them out to the back room at a markup. Such a snake. I took the demo Xbox home with a copy of Halo, before the system launched one night, and had a 4-player all-night party. One of our other local stores had someone dig through the outside wall and steal everything out of their back room. I worked in a store where theft was a very common occurrence, but this one dude, he nabbed one of the cheap controllers off the wall from the back of the store, puts it in his backpack, then comes over to the counter, he reaches across the counter, opens a drawer and steals a brand new game out of the drawer, takes it away from the register, opens it, waits in line, trades the game for 25 bucks. Then he asks me to look for something in one of the bottom drawers, and he steals back the game he just traded in a second time. After that he immediately left the store before I could notice he was gone. I gotta give him credit, he had some slick balls. So many other sketchy things too, but this one I just had to laugh at. I had a guy call me a terrorist. I am Middle Eastern. We had a buy 2 get 1 free sale on pre-owned games. He wanted to buy 2 cheaper games and get the expensive one free. We informed that's not how it works, he flipped out. We had to call security in a mall we were in to get him to leave. He called corporate and corporate told us he was documented, so any negative reviews on the next few weeks would be flagged. My manager stood up for me that day. I missed that guy. We also had a fire break out in the back room. Got rid of a lot of old inventory. Happened on Halloween. We were closed for a few days to clean and stuff. I used a fire extinguisher that day. First time ever. I was hired to help open a new store. A store where the manager was male, and everyone he hired, female. He was definitely trying to cultivate a hot GameStop kind of situation. Word got around, and we had people coming in to visit ours when they had other stores much closer to where they lived. They didn't really buy anything. They just kind of lurked around for hours at a time, chatting the staff up. There were days when they'd wait for us to close up. That was kind of scary. I was eventually let go for not being friendly enough, which was apparently about 3 months before the manager had a total screaming meltdown during store hours. Declared himself High Archangel, threw some shit at a customer, and was later picked up by an ambulance. So I guess my horror story is the whole damn job. I was an assistant manager when one of the Madden games came out. 4 maybe? We were doing a bit midnight opening for it and everybody was having a great time waiting for the game, which we were picking up from another store about 30 miles away. Around 11, after people had been waiting for 2 hours after the mall closed, I got a phone call. The game wasn't coming. I almost broke down, sitting behind the register, dreading the thought of telling everybody that they had just wasted their time. To make matters worse, another store within walking distance of us got their games. I just wanted to die that night. I am so grateful that our customers took it well and didn't get too angry. Today, a customer brings in probably the grossest PlayStation 4 I've ever seen. I think, oh no, please don't have roaches. I hold it on hand and tap it against the floor and nothing falls out. Nor is there and rustling on things moving. No telltale signs. I take it in. My coworker decides he needs to find out why it is so dirty, before cleaning it and opens it up. Inside is the world's first deluxe roach hotel. Managed to keep the hoard contained in the box the console was going in. That console is gone now. Why are people gross?